eventually one of the connections I made led me to help start this company Synthesis, which was legal psilocybin retreats in Amsterdam. And so that's like kind of what started. Like at that point, that's where I made my professional transition. It was actually right when Michael Pollan's book came out, and our company Synthesis was one of the organizations Michael Pollan listed on his website for quite a long time about where people could go to, experience this and try this. And so I really think that like out of our first 1,000 clients that we had in that company, probably 750 of them came to us after reading Michael Pollan's book. And they were, after reading that, they felt curious. They like have enough sense of like safety that they want to try it, but they still want to do something legal. They're generally not ready to, break the law or go down to South America or Central America. And so, yeah, for about 5 years of Synthesis's journey, I helped set up legal psilocybin retreats. A lot of them were 3 days with one experience, but we started shifting towards 5 days with two experiences. And I can tell you more why. Just much better experiences for clients in that way. And we collaborated with research institutions that validated the outcomes of our retreats very similarly to the outcomes of clinical settings. And we worked on like our retreats really focused on a bunch of holistic practices around the taking of the psychedelic itself. So meditation. It sounds like you might be familiar with breathwork from what you shared about your time on the island. So we do intensive breathwork sessions just before we take the psilocybin, as a way to really drop us out of our analytical heads into our bodies, and that feeling of being like you just described it, like being in that present moment. That like sense, like that's a perfect mental clarity framework to go into a psilocybin journey, because we've let go of our anxieties and we're more present, and we're just, it's like letting go of all the layers of our mind that are necessary to function in the world, but sometimes cause challenges for us to go inward and do inward exploration. So things like that, healthy meals, like really like well attentive staff who are there with you 24/7 for the duration of the program. All these things really help people get so much more out of the journey than just like showing up and being in an office room with someone and then, flying home the next day.
Even the act, I used to run retreats around Asia, was amazing. I got so much out of it, to be honest, and hopefully the people did as well. But from my experience, they did. And my experience of running the retreat is when you commit to, let's say you were saying 5 days, when you commit to leaving your quote unquote normal life, going into this space, this sacred space for 5 days or whatever amount of time it is, you can, as long as you're choosing the right space to enter, you can assume magic's going to happen. And hopefully that sticks. And it sounds like that what you're going to share, the work you guys are doing, and with the encouragement to do the follow-up work, the likelihood of those just maybe becoming a little bit happier, better, whatever it is that we want to achieve out of that would stick. But even just the act of saying, you know what, even when I say it, I'm going on retreat, something inside me goes, ooh, you know what I mean? Like just that act of placing myself in I guess you could say, a controlled environment where the controlled part of the environment is to produce an outcome where I just get what I want, or maybe even what I need sometimes, especially with what you just mentioned about how psychedelics will bring you to what you need, will confront you potentially. But that would just be an amazing experience. And so I'm assuming great food, breath work, there must be some movement, music, entrainment. Do you guys use entrainment? That idea of sound waves, and then the mechanism in the ear is like a transducer and it converts sound waves to brain waves so they align, that process of entrainment. You ever play with that?
There are certain things we do with audio alongside the psilocybin and the breath work that fall into that category pretty loosely. I like to think about the programs on retreat as like the psilocybin is the main event, but all the other practices are super helpful. And I like to think of it as like just like a crash course almost, because a lot of people don't have experience with breath work or meditation or yoga, or they tried meditating, but it doesn't quite work. But after the psychedelic experience, it's typically easier to drop into those states. And so I like to think about the offering of that we have on retreat is like dipping your toe in the water of all these different things. And then people can go home and pull on the thread of from the ball of yarn of what resonates with them most. And a lot of people go home and they want to find local breath work or virtual breath work sessions because that's something that can be almost as powerful for psychedelics for some people, but it's just your breath. You don't need to like go break the law or go to a special place to do it. You can do it, just with the guidance of an audio track sometimes. And so, yeah, I like to think of it as like giving people a toolkit of things that they can do when they go home that maybe are outside their scope of everyday practice. But I wanted to say one thing about the retreat experience you were talking about, and I'll tie it back into the programs, of course. But one of the clinical studies that I find most interesting about psychedelics is around meaningful and spiritual experiences. So this is Johns Hopkins, a famous university in the Washington, D.C. area. And they have shown, and I'm not going to get the exact number right, something in the range of like 70 to 90% of people who have a single high dose psilocybin journey in a research setting, which generally is a very sterile environment in a hospital room with, two people sitting next to them on a couch. They will rank this as one of the top 3 most meaningful experiences in their life.
Wow.
And top 3 spiritually significant experiences in their life. And, it ranks alongside of like having children and stuff. So it's really interesting to me how a substance can help elicit that. But just like what you were saying, like the experience of retreating already really helps that. Like get out of your everyday life, go to a beautiful place, be in like a really supportive community of like-minded people. Like, so it was a really good way, I thought, to like point to how powerful the experience of doing psilocybin or any psychedelic in a retreat setting versus all these other settings that, you can still get positive outcomes out of doing it, but in my opinion, way less, because as soon as you start to turn your brainwaves back to the everyday reality and you pull out your smartphone, you start scrolling, or you're being exposed to advertisements, like all these things start closing you down again from the open state that you're in from breathwork or psilocybin or the retreat. And so the longer you can be in that container, as they call it, like to have the experience and unfold, the more you have space to get out of it. And like a lot of people will just over the course of the 5 days, their intention for coming and the meaning of their experiences will just shift and evolve with like each workshop. We'll do a journaling workshop, or we'll do an art therapy workshop, or a silent meditation workshop, and it all builds on top of each other in such a beautiful, mysterious way. And that's like really what I feel like we're doing at the end of the day. Like we do our best, we make safe spaces, we get our clients ready psychologically, but like it's really the unfolding happens, not like we're not doing it, like the clients are doing it for themselves with the psychedelics, and we're just creating a structure for it to happen in like a safe way.